Hey, real estate pros, welcome to another episode of the Optimized Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Rod Wilson. And on this podcast, it's my job to interview the movers and shakers of residential real estate and to pull out their top secrets, ideas, and strategies to help you optimize your own business. And today I got a special guest. I'm super excited to interview this guy, Josh Miller. He has a company called GoforClose, and they basically do done-for-you outsource marketing. So it's a way to basically outsource your marketing department to him. He works with relatively small investors and wholesalers, as well as large, more institutional. They do all the marketing for Joe Homebuyer, the Joe Homebuyer franchise. And the reason I like this conversation, I love what Josh is doing, is that I was never that great on the marketing side, and he's got it figured out. He does deep data analytics. In fact, he has a background in data science. He basically analyzes your market to determine the best, most profitable approach. And so that's also key, because they don't just do one thing. No one trick pony here where they're just doing, Facebook ads or, direct mail or whatever. He determines what's going to work in your market. He talks about niche lists and why you can focus on them, why you should focus on them, and how they do it and make it easy. He mentions novations, which I've never even heard of that term. He describes kind of what that is. And then he actually has a free tool where you could determine the best zip codes. And he makes a startling statement about AI that's a little scary in one regard. And then the other is that I think in fact, we're going to have a follow-on podcast to go deep into it. But, he just talks about kind of where it's going. And the one thing that stuck out to me was he said, you got about 12 months or AI could potentially, dramatically impact, if not run over your business. So enjoy this episode. And please, if you like it, share the episode, leave a review, subscribe. The more you do that, the more we can get this out there. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Tell your friends. Enjoy the episode. Hey, Josh, how you doing? Thanks for
What's up, Ron?
joining the podcast.
Man, this is gonna be fun. This is the first time I've seen you face to face. It's always been via phone call, so this is
That's
cool.
right. No, it's always good to put the face. In fact, my lighting is needs a little improvement. Your lighting is very good. Yeah, so I guess I'm just jumping into it, man. I really appreciate taking the time. I know you got a lot going on. In fact, we were just chatting a bit before we got started about AI. So I definitely want to cover some of that. You've got a very interesting background, and I'm actually, even though we've talked a little bit about this, I'm excited to learn more. So why don't we start there? Just kind of your background, how you got into, obviously we're talking about, some of the lead gen strategies that you're employing. And I'm curious just, how you got into it.
So spent 10 years at Chevron doing data engineering stuff and having a blast. And I saw the writing on the wall that a 40-year career with Chevron and that pension at the end wasn't for me. And I wanted that financial freedom just like anyone else. So did a bunch of looking around, found real estate, and the rest is history. I kind of did it simultaneously while I was working, and then 2018, I think it was, I started acquiring rentals, got a bunch of them, over 100, and realized this game sucks, man. Like, you gotta be on your A game to have a lot of single family homes, and especially virtual. I'm in Southern California, and these were all in the Midwest. Yeah, I got I shouldn't cuss, but got my butt handed to me a couple of times, and
Of
um
course.
yeah, did a bunch of flipping and wholesaling and lease options and trying to find what I loved about real estate. At the end of the day, I found out what I loved was just what I did at Chevron was really the data side of things and understanding, okay, you got 120 million homes, who's actually going to be selling to an investor, how to contact them. And so I became like a marketing guy by mistake and a software guy. And that's where I'm now. So I actually sold my portfolio in 2020, and I've just been focusing 100% on marketing for other folks, and I love it. Like, I wake up in the morning and I'm just excited about working, and for each their own. Some find that with the deal solving problems in real estate, the flipping, not me. Like, it's too stressful for me. I just like the marketing, so that's what I focus on.
Very cool. Well, we
Yeah.
could probably do a whole podcast on how you said it almost like nonchalant, 100 deals, you got 100 properties. That's saying something in by itself.
It is and it's not. Like, you talk to folks and they're like, I got 10,000 doors and all this stuff. So it's all relative, but it was definitely, I saw myself as a marketing engine, and my job was literally just to reach as many homeowners and get the house under contract. I had 2 acquisition managers, and I said, get every property under contract. It doesn't even matter at what price. And then once we had it under contract, we could figure out what we could do with it. Right. Whether we get a listing on it, whether we do a lease option, there's so many strategies. So it was literally get the house under contract and we can figure out how to make money on it.
Right. Yeah, no, you hear that a lot where it's like, if you can get a good deal, a good real estate deal, there's always a way to, monetize it. There's always either someone that'll want to partner or buy it or whatever.
Yeah. It's crazy because I run marketing for a lot of investors now. And it's like, just based on how many appointments they go on, how many deals they're going to get. And it's, you talk to some investors and you're like, that person's not interested in selling. And, there's all these excuses they make up on why they don't go on this appointment. But it's like the people that go on the appointments, the people that write the contracts, they get the deals. And it's sad, but it still is a numbers game. I'm trying to change that with AI, but right now it's a numbers game.
Well, I'm sure myself and the audience is definitely going to want to hear about that. So why don't you get into kind of before the more AI focused discussion, because I know that's where you're involved and headed. Your company is GoforClose.
Yep.
And I guess maybe what was kind of the lead into that, and basically what do you do related to lead gen for investors?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I mean, at the end of the day, you do the lending aspect, but there's so many aspects to real estate. There's so many hats that you have to wear. There's so many. And I see it as my job to take on that marketing hat. So if you own a real estate company and you're like, hey, I need deals, I can't help you with the sales, I can't help you with the flipping, but I absolutely can take care of all that marketing. So I just see myself and my team to come in and just handle all of your marketing. So every market's different. That's probably the biggest thing that I've heard, and then I learned, and now we internalize of how every market is different. And so we have to utilize different channels to reach homeowners in different markets. So some markets we focus on Google ads, by far and away the best marketing channel. Sometimes it's YouTube ads. Sometimes it's direct mail. Sometimes it's cold calling. And so it really just depends on your market, and it ebbs and flows. Things change. What might be an incredible market for Google ads, somebody might come in and really increase the cost in that market. And so we have to decrease our spend. But at the end of the day, what we do is we find homeowners who are like, yep, I'm ready to sell. We do the qualifying, and then we push those leads over so you can focus on the sales and the 100 other things that's involved, but at least you don't have to take care of the marketing. And fortunate enough to have some incredible clients. Probably one of our most known is the Joe Homebuyer franchise. So we do all of the marketing for them across the country. There's some big guys where they throw stupid amount of money and stupid amount of volume in their markets. And then, we also help smaller investors who are just looking for, 1 or 2 deals a month. And we do the marketing for them as well. So across the board, and really grateful to find something I love and work with investors who love what they do.
That's great. So yeah, that was one of the questions is, what is kind of the sweet spot? So it sounds like you work with pretty much, each end of the spectrum and everything in between as far as size of investor / flipper.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it really is just about increasing your volume. I'd love to say like the guy who does 1 deal a month versus a guy that does 50 deals a month. We have incredibly complex different strategies and all this, but it's just not true. I mean, it's just more volume. If you see a guy in your market that's doing, 20 deals a month, they probably are doing very similar to what you're doing at 1 deal, but they just do a whole lot more volume.
Right. Which is always, it's kind of scary to scale like that. I mean, back in the day when I was doing this, I was always like, that you have that outflow, and you said something earlier, it's just a numbers game. And so you kind of know it's a numbers game, but then, it's whatever the number is, 500, $2,000, $5,000, whatever that spend is a month, you got to generate rate. It's like, how long can you sustain that? And I was,
Yeah.
if you don't have all the other systems in place and whatnot, it gets to be, it's kind of gut check time when you start. You got to have a budget that you're willing to stick with. I've heard people talk about, if you're not going to do it for 6 months, don't even start, because sometimes it might take a couple months to get a good deal or whatever. What's your advice for people on just what's the lowest bar entry point for an investor who's thinking about, handing over their marketing to someone like you?
Yeah, so we typically start with investors spending at least $4K a month. And the reason for that number is in most markets, that's about what it's going to cost to get a deal. Certainly there's markets where it's far less, and then there's some markets where it's a little bit more, but on average, and that's our goal. Our goal is to get like, hey, if you're working with us, you're going to get at least a minimum of one deal a month. And then obviously there's investors that kill that, and their cost per deal is fraction of that. But that really comes down to their side and having incredible sales teams and incredible follow-ups and multiple exit strategies. I'm seeing that more and more, that the top investors that I work with, they used to just be wholesalers, and now they're doing wholesalings and novations, and then now they're doing some wholesaling novations and hotels, and now they're doing so the more exit strategies that you have, you're putting your marketing dollars to better use, because you're going to talk to the homeowner who a novation is the only solution for them. And if you only have wholesaling as a solution, you can't help them. So
and you're saying novations?
Novations, yeah. So that's the cool new buzzword.
Okay, yeah, that's totally new to me.
It's been around forever. I certainly am not experienced at it, because although it was around in 2018, I wasn't handling it, but I can definitely introduce you. I think you should have on some great people that this is all they do is novations. But the basics of a novation is that you get into a contract with the homeowner that says, hey, we're going to net you 200K. So at the end of the day, you're going to get 200K. No matter what, you get 200K. I'm going to get some risk. I'm going to put the house on the MLS. I'm going to take care of any repairs that need to happen. I'm going to take care of realtor fees. I'm going to do everything. At the end of the day, you're going to get 200, no matter what. I'm going to list it though for say 300 though. And I get the difference after I take care of all the stuff and take care of the out-of-pocket expenses that are required. And so what happens is you enter into agreement with the homeowner for 200. They put it up on the MLS. They sell it. A buyer comes and buys it directly from the homeowner. And so the key point about that is there's no requirements for FHA and other things like that. They can do an FHA loan. They can do whatever loan they want. It's just one strategy. It's not the end all be all. And it is risky. And so if you are a flipper, I don't recommend it personally. I don't think it's a battle you want to get into where you're getting under contract under a property, putting $100,000 worth of work into it, and the house isn't in your name. You just have a contract. So I definitely don't recommend it for flippers. But if it's a very, very, very light rehab, there's an option for that.
I've always liked that model, and I've tried on a deal I didn't want to take down myself, just from a risk perspective. I've liked that model as far as like monetizing a contract. I just never had a huge buyer list or felt like I was, wholesale, but I always thought there was a room for that, because you get homeowners that want to flip until they want to, improve it and maximize the exit, but they don't know how, they don't have the resources, they don't have the time, whatever the case. So you're kind of able to use your expertise on the rehab and obviously benefit from that. In fact, I was even thinking, giving the homeowner, a piece of the action. If we got over 200, if we got it sold for 300, they'd get X percentage of, that upside or something, just to motivate them to want to do that type of deal. So I actually kind of like that model. Anyway, we don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not the expert, so
I don't want to rat hole on that.
Show, but
okay,
it is a great strategy if the house doesn't need a lot of work and you're just planning on, turning around and selling it the next day anyways. It does, help you in that you now don't have to go out and get a loan for the property. You don't have to pay for the closing the first time with a homeowner, and then again when you sell it. So
Right.
there's you can buy it higher, and that's the name of the marketing game. Is okay, I can run all this marketing and find homeowners who need to sell, but how do you show them that you're the solution versus all the other competition out there?
Okay, so going back to, I'm curious, with your clients that you're doing the marketing for, are they typically flippers, wholesalers, or a combination?
Yeah, in the past, they were almost all wholesalers. And then I don't know how to say this nicely without pissing off all my clients, but I like flippers more. I feel like there's a lot of wholesalers out there that it's just about making money, and there's really no real value that the wholesalers bring to the situation. There is that once in a while that they inherited the property, they live out of state, and they just want the easy solution.
Right.
But, most of the time, there's not an incredible amount of value that they're really bringing that an agent can't. So we have been moving more and more to work with flippers because I feel like there's real value. We're helping the homeowner there. And it's easier to wake up in the morning and feel excited about helping people who are helping others. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm definitely you grow up and things change. So yeah, we're definitely going more in flipper route
Okay.
as of the last probably year or so.
And then, so you're focused primarily on just the lead gen side. You had mentioned follow up, which I know is a massive piece in making this successful and profitable.
Yeah.
So once you basically, as a client, they receive that lead, it's kind of on them to make sure they maximize that.
Yeah. So what we see ourselves as a marketing company, and then there's sales. So where's that handoff? Well, it's when that homeowner is like, yeah, I need to sell now in the next 90 days. At that point, we say, okay, this should be going to sales. And once it's in sales, you really should be following up in person. It should be the salesperson or the owner, talking to that homeowner and really closing the deal. So what we do when we do all of our follow-up, we're more talking about when we reach out to a homeowner and they're like, yeah, I'm thinking about selling next year. We're not going to send that person over. We're going to keep following up. And that's where you can start using a lot of the automation and all the AI. And that's a real good use case of where you can now do much more personalized follow-up messages and things like this, because we have, instead of a VA doing it or a standard automated text, now that's where you can put AI in as just one example to help find when that homeowner is ready, so we can send that person over to the investor.
Okay. So I know we got to cut this off.
Yeah, that's my bad. I'm sorry. I feel like I could talk all day with you, and I got double booked. I apologize.
No, it's good. We'll have a follow-up, and I want to go deep on AI because I know people are very interested in that. From the GoforClose platform, I guess if you want to cover just a couple minutes, kind of what are you guys doing? I mean, I know you got to probably analyze the market, analyze the client, and figure out, where you want to spend your energy.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of just like the client. You're going to be looking at the lowest cost, kind of highest, return type of, leads. And, once you take a look at, I guess, the market in most cases, you'll determine what's the kind of biggest bang for the buck.
Yeah. And I've got a great free tool that I have available. If anyone wants to do it on there by themselves, we're happy to do it for you. But if you want to just have a go at it, it's called hottestzip.com, and you can deep dive into your market to figure out where you should spend your marketing dollars. At a very high level, what we're trying to do is we're basically fishing, and we want to be in the smallest pond with the most amount of fish. So essentially, we want to be where there's the most amount of homeowners selling to investors. And so this tool allows you to dive down from a county level to a city level to a zip level and really dive in and see where's the most competition, where's the most amount of homes being sold to an investor, how much distress is there in that area. If there's no distress in that area, it's probably not a great market to be in. Same with days on market. If there's a high days on market, probably not a great market to be in. And so this allows us that's step one. Analyze the market, figure out, okay, where should we be spending our marketing dollars? Then we move into the actual homeowners in that market, saying what's the normal profile of somebody selling. And the nice thing is all this information is historical. So we can look back and be like, okay, seems like there's a lot of higher proportion than normal of inherited properties that we should be going to. Or, you know, in some markets, it's simple. It's the absentee owner, right? That one's a no-brainer. Or sometimes it's, you know, certain things will be higher than normal of pain points in certain markets. And so at that point, we really try to find as many of those as we can. Well, we're a very data centered company, so we do a lot of things like going into the county records and pulling as much as we can directly instead of just buying it in bulk. That's probably, you know, if anyone gets anything out of this and you're struggling and you want to continue doing it on your own, my first suggestion would be to stop using these public sites like PropStream and Property Radar and all of them. I love them. There's a use for them, but there's so many investors now using them. And so instead, do the hard legwork, go into your county records, find things like code violations, find things like eviction records, find things like your probates. And yeah, this all takes work, but because it takes work, there's so fewer people doing it. So get that hard to get data, then you can skip trace them, call them, direct mail them. The Google ads, the YouTube ads, those are more once you have a larger spend, that's when you want to get into those. I don't suggest doing that if you don't have a large budget.
So, and you were referencing basically the niche list.
Yep.
And you guys do that as well? Is that?
Yep. So we take care of everything. When we say like, and this was my dream, this is what I wanted. I wanted a company I could go to and say, hey, I've got this size marketing budget. Get me leads. Get me qualified homeowners who are ready to sell, who have raised their hand and said, I need to sell my house. So yeah, we take care of everything. We take care of a lot of data digging. I mean, that's basically a big part of it, is finding that niche data, finding scraping sites like deceased records. So we're pulling every day, anyone who's deceased, we're matching their name with a property. Did they own a property? And then now we've got things like that, where it's just finding the, you know, the few people that, unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of investors out there. There's a lot of competition. And so what worked before, which was just basically mailing in mass, it just, you know, doesn't really work anymore. So yeah, we take care of it all.
Right on. Well, I know you got to run. We are going to, by the way, Josh got double booked. So we're going to,
sorry, everybody.
No, but I like this. We'll turn in a two-parter, and we'll go deep into AI, because I personally am very interested in what you're doing on that front.
Yeah. I'll end on AI just to get folks to listen to the next one. 100%, I would say within 12 months, everything's going to be different. You're not going to be using virtual assistants anymore. There won't be cold calling. All of our Google ads will be different. Our Facebook ads are all different. Driving for dollars will be non-existent. Like everything you're used to doing in the marketing space, because that's really where I'm focused. I'm sure other areas too, but everything in the marketing space will be completely different and changed. And so my one word of like what I try to get everyone doing is just be in it every day, because you won't, every minute that you're in it learning and fidgeting around, playing with stuff, you'll learn something new, and you'll be ahead of the game when everything does change. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, listen, I really appreciate the time, and I'm looking forward to part two.
Dude, this was thanks for having me on. I feel like I just talked, but hopefully some value added, and people got their brains turning. So
no, good stuff. I mean, if anyone's looking for, you know, outsource their marketing, which, you know, most, I would say myself included, most real estate investors not only are not great at the marketing side, but also just the data analytics, and the data is everything. And we have it now. It's just a matter of, you know, how do you go get it? I heard Kent Clothier. I heard him actually this morning talking about how, you know, back in the day when he started, which is kind of like when I did, there was no data. You know, you basically had to go down to the courthouse, you know, you had to, you know, go to the county records and, you know, start, or just, you know, doing mass mailers or door knocking or whatever. Now there's a much smarter way and more cost-effective way to find, you know, motivated sellers. And I think you've kind of unlocked that in a big way. Not to mention that's not even talking about AI, which is going to make things even more, you know, more powerful.
It's absolutely going to be I don't know the exact quote, but basically there's going to be companies who utilize AIs, and that's it. Like there's not going to be any other companies out there. It's either a company that utilizes AI or you don't exist. It's as simple as,
Very cool. Well, we'll do part two real soon. And again, Josh, appreciate the time, and
hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that was an amazing interview, albeit a short one. We will definitely be having a part two, if not a part 3 and 4 and 5, who knows? So stay tuned for that. Well, that was an amazing interview with Josh, and we will definitely be doing a part 2, if not a part 3, 4, and 5, because this guy is an absolute stud, and I'm really looking forward to picking his brain on some of the strategies, definitely around AI. That's been kind of on my mind, been doing my own little side research on that. So go check out hottestzip.com, where it's a free tool where you can determine kind of where the hottest zips are, zip codes, that is. I would go check out Joe Homebuyer. I'm going to do that myself and just kind of see what they're up to. It sounds like he does all the marketing for them. He mentioned novations. That's another strategy that, like I mentioned in the podcast, I think is a very interesting one. I was always looking at ways to lower the risk and just increase the ability to monetize deals when maybe it wasn't a perfect wholesale deal or a perfect flip deal, but you got a seller that wants to sell. And, if you're not a real estate agent, what are some of the alternatives and working with that person? So I promise you, I'm going to get him on as soon as possible to talk about AI. He makes the startling comment he made is you got about 12 months to kind of figure it out. It's going to be changing just like every other industry. It's going to be changing residential real estate potentially dramatically, which I believe that if you look at the power of AI. So that's it. Rod Wilson here. Feel free to reach out any way you see this or find this, just message me. You can always reach out to my number. My cell phone's 408-568-6875 for any kind of lending, finance needs related to fix and flip, ground up construction, and even some long-term rentals. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we'll see you on the next episode.